This is a little video that I've put together giving a short account of our trip to New Zealand in March 2018. It was just at the end of their summer really, heading into autumn, so it was a nice time to go. It was a little bit quieter but still nice and bright and warm. So we flew into Auckland. I'll just point out the places that we went to briefly on this rather basic low-tech map. That we flew into Auckland, spent a day just getting acclimatised really, catching up with sleep and so on, and then we drove up, got a hire car, we drove up to Opanoni through a forest park there, which was quite interesting, and then across to Paihai and a little island off Paihai called Russell, with nice views across the Bay of Islands in this area. Then we came back down to Auckland and visited some of my wife's relatives who live in Auckland, which was quite interesting. And we spent a little bit of time in the Auckland city area, lovely place. Then we went down to another contact, a former work colleague of my wife's, lives in Mount Maunganui, which is a lovely beach place. Then inland to Rotorua, where there are geysers and lots of Maori cultural places. Then from there we drove down to Taupo, alongside the lake, which was impressive, to a tiny spot called National Park. And we spent a couple of nights there and took the opportunity of doing this thing called the Tongariro Crossing, visiting some of the really interesting volcanic features around there. Then we drove all the way around here to this other coastal town called Napier, and from there we headed off down to South Island. So this is just a little bit about North Island in part 1. Part 2 will be about South Island. Hope you enjoy it. Having left Auckland, we decided to drive north, up through the island, aiming to get towards Opanoni. So here we are in North Island, New Zealand. We've just come off the motorway and driving through this little coastal resort. Just stopped for a coffee, and this is the scene. Kind of typical of the areas that we've been through really. So we drove north, and just before getting to Opanoni we drove through a big forest park where apparently there was a huge kauri tree which we missed. So if you're ever in that area, don't forget to visit the kauri tree. Go down. Wahai Beach, and the wind's fairly blowing but the surf's up, so we're going to have a look at some waves. How are you? Tell us. Tell the camera where you are.
I am at Wahi Beach.
Wahi Beach.
Yeah.
So these trees behind me, seem to see them all over New Zealand. No idea what they are. They're a kind of pine tree, I think. But you see them everywhere along with all these tree ferns. So one of the things we need to do is find out what these trees are. This is Mount Maunganui, a really nice place, beautiful beach, and to go with it some really nice sunshine. We stayed there with a friend of my wife's for a couple of days, enjoying the surf and the walks around there, but also realising again that this is quite a seismically active area, and details about how to evacuate in the event, should it happen, of a tsunami. Lovely place. That's coming along now. Ooh, look! Wow! Ooh! It's going, yeah. Wow! That's amazing, isn't it?
Cost of now, isn't it? It's the cost of
Oh, it's going now. Hey. So here we are on the Tongariro Alpine Crossing, heading along this path.
Beautiful day. Set off from the hostel at 7 this morning.
Right.
Full bus load up to the car park and climbed and here we are right up at the top now, I think. You know, so could be going up higher. See the people right under the bus. Lights. People everywhere. It's so beautiful. Everybody with their own challenges. You like that pretty tune walking, Andrew?
That was good.
These are going up and down, I would say.
So this is looking down into the red crater. And you can see there's still quite a lot of activity down there. And as we continue on, that's obviously a bit of a summit there. Incredible, isn't it?
Tell me the name, Andrew. Green Lake.
This is the White Lake.
The White Lake. Over there.
Way over there, yeah. There are plenty of places in National Park Village to book your Tongariro Alpine Traverse. We stayed in the youth hostel there, and they arranged the crossing for us. Basically, we got the bus in the morning, very early. They dropped us off at one side of the mountain, and we spent the rest of the day walking across the volcano and then out the other side with views here looking across to Lake Taupo. We then descended quite a long descent down into the forest and eventually got picked up at the other end. A total of about, I would say, 8 or 9 hours of crossing. Great fun though. Way south from Tongariro we came across the Tangawai rail disaster site, which happened, as it said there, in 1953. Basically a big mudslide came down the river, swept out a bridge, and a train unfortunately piled into the debris, and there's a substantial loss of life and quite a touching memorial site there.
So this morning we're on the road to Napier, which is along here. You just got like open country and green fields and lots of sheep. And then suddenly, on the other side, you've got this really hilly bit. Just incredible contrasts in this country.
After quite a long drive, we eventually came through to a town called Napier, which is in the Hawke's Bay area of North Ireland, quite a renowned wine growing area. Napier itself was quite a nice place to spend a little bit of time walking along Marine Parade. We stayed in a very nice chalet there. We were well looked after. It's also renowned for its Art Deco type of buildings. After a major earthquake in 1931, the new buildings were made in the Art Deco style, which you can see. From Napier we eventually flew down to South Island, and that's where part 2 of this video will pick up.